days. Counting them all this year, right? We have gone 108 days without a chargeable accident, on top of everything. And then also thank you to those of you who mentored. You know, it was I think we're at 12 drivers right now and 2 monitors, so definitely need your guys' help with getting all these new drivers up to speed. So thank you for doing that. Wednesday, October 13th, just keep in mind if you drive a high school route, it's junior testing, so you have very light loads. Just the juniors will attend on that day. And we'll send an email out, but just a little heads up there. Important dates for November, I think we have those done, right?
There you go, boxes.
Oh, they're already in your mailboxes. Reminder, early dismissal this Friday. That is done as well. I know they were working on printing new routes for those of you that were assigned either high school or an elementary to help out. So, I don't know, did we get those printed?
Well, no, because I had a question on one of them, so
Okay.
I did not.
So we will, the biggest thing is, seems like every year, somebody assumes that they're just doing their route and that's it. You have to check the schedule to see what you're driving on early dismissal. If you have a 3-tier route, it's not gonna work. So we're covering at least one of your routes. If you drive special needs and your student has a regular attendance day, chances are you've been assigned a high school route. Alright? So just make sure you check and see what you're doing on that day. And then we have a 3-day weekend. Woo-hoo. I cannot wait. And I show it is a paid holiday for you guys, so that's another good thing. From the shop, a couple of things that we didn't really talk about. Who was going to go over this, so I'll just touch on it really quickly. 2 drivers using the same bus within a 24-hour period. You do not need a new fluid check. Goes by a 24-hour period or the weekend. Alright, so if you pre-trip your bus on Friday morning, the guys go through, they do fluid checks after AMs. So you're good for another 24 hours or until Monday after AMs if that bus hasn't been used. Make sense? Any questions on that? And if somebody has driven your bus, say you get a fluid check on Thursday morning, and somebody's driven your bus, and then you come in for PMs, you don't need another fluid check just because another driver. Just flip back and see, do you have a fluid check that's within the 24 hours? And do not put duct tape on the emergency windows. I know some of them are coming loose. Just let us know. We'll take care of it. Can you even imagine the lawsuit that would happen if there was a bus accident and the emergency windows are duct taped shut? Come on. You gotta be kidding me. Don't do it. If we need to put you in another bus, we'll put you in another bus. Questions on that? Field trips. The coaches still should be doing seating charts. I haven't asked, but I also haven't heard that it's been an issue. Is that happening? Teachers or coaches? No?
I don't see a pen and paper, we'll put it that way.
What they do is they take pictures of everybody on the bus, on stage.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. That works, for them.
Can we do that?
I wouldn't recognize it. That would make it a whole lot easier, wouldn't it? All right, and then Just a reminder, dispatch needs to see you in the morning. If you drive out of here, we need to see you. There's times when people, I guess they're clocking in out in the lots, doing a pre-trip, and now we're coming in and checking in. And that just means we have to go and find you and make sure that you're here, or where you're at. So please stop by. If Angela's not there, anyone in the office, just make eye contact. Let's see, okay, and then last but not least, I want to talk about the vaccine. And everyone's right to make up their own mind on whether they would like to get the vaccine, whether they choose to test weekly here. Everybody has a right to their own opinion. And if we can't be civil and just talk to each other about our own opinions, then don't bring it up. Because I'm not gonna put up with that. You're not gonna have drivers upset going out on route, driving students around who are literally in tears because of their own personal beliefs. It goes both ways. If you want to have that right for you, to make that decision for yourself, then those people have every right as well. Any questions on that? No? All right, so, yeah, can't handle it, don't talk about it. Any questions on anything that I went over today?
The 3-tier route on early release, there's gonna be an email for it, come see you guys for that. Nobody knows why on early release, I got 3 tiers, so I went through all 3, right?
Right, so we did the same, that we do every year, the sheet, the early dismissal sheet, which is done. I think we were waiting for one more person, right? We got one more person to talk to.
Yeah.
It's done except for one route. So we will definitely email it out, but we will post it as well.
Yeah, that's all new to me.
And then if you have a different route, you'll have a seating chart and the route sheet. I'll put it in your mailbox
Okay.
today probably. Hopefully.
Anything else?
The cleanliness of the bus.
The cleanliness, yes, apologies. So we pay you guys twice a day, 15 minutes, pre-trip a bus, keep it clean, fill it up, whatever needs to be done. That includes cleaning it. And when we have dirty buses sitting out there and people sitting in here talking through those 15 minutes rather than taking care of their bus, it's not right, guys. You're getting paid to keep that bus clean. Questions? Goes for everyone. I don't care if it's a big bus, a small bus. Just take a little pride, kind of like your office, isn't it? Take a little pride in what it looks like. Okay. Well, I'd like to end on a happy note. Does anybody have anything positive to say?
I do. Thank you for whoever in the middle school had us park at 8:28 instead of 8:25. That made a big difference trying to get back to our parking spot.
Good, all right,
I
that's a
don't know who
win.
brought that up, but
I'll take it.
It's working.
No, I know, it's another difficult year, but, I really feel like it's getting better. What do you guys think? Anyone else getting that feeling like just slowly it's getting better? We're getting there again? No, all right, well, I tried. We'll get there. Thank you. Or we've just given up.
So I know all of you got an email from me about checking your years of service and your sick time and personal time, and I think some of you get confused, so I'm going to try to do this quickly. I put together a little PowerPoint of how to check that on Skyward. So hopefully this will help some of you. So today we're going to review Skyward, how to find your step, years of service, allocated personal and sick time in the desktop version of Skyward. So I want to say thank you to everyone for working on your technology skills. I know years ago we didn't use computers as much, and we really have brought this office and department forward in that way, and I'm very proud of that. So I appreciate everyone using emails and using the desktops and using Skyward as more and more than you did in the past. Oh, and this computer over here is now up and running and ready, and anyone can use it anytime.
Printer too?
And the printer, yes, it is working. So before we get started, it's very important to use Skyward on a desktop. I know you use the mobile app to clock in and out, but using the desktop to check various things is important. So like at least once a week, try to go on and look and see what I'm going to show you next. And just so you know, all of these things available to you on your school account, you get all of these things at home. So you have access to all the different things in Word. You have access to Excel. All of these things are available to you when you sign in at home on your desktop. So for this example, because I was curious that if what I sign in on Skyward is different than what you see, I did have a driver give me their password, and I signed in as a driver. So I know that what I saw is the same that what you see. So the person that I signed in as had not signed in on a desktop before, since all these changes were made. So one thing I want to note is that you will be asked to use the authenticator. So for example, this person had their authenticator set up to their cell phone, so I had to get the code. So it came up and it said I couldn't go any further until I went through the authenticator. So that person received a code, to which I used here to continue to be able to sign in.
Where did
And
you
that-
get that code?
It gets sent to, you have already set that up.
That's it.
Yes, you have already set that up.
Yeah.
It's that security option that we all had to do, okay? And you either set it up to go to an email account or to go to your cell phone,
Yeah,
okay?
okay.
And now we are using Microsoft Edge. We don't use Microsoft Explorer any longer. So to the left is the screen that I see when I launch into Microsoft Edge from a desktop. So this page layout, when you sign in, you get through the authenticator, this is what you're going to see, okay, this page. And you will be asked to customize this. If you haven't done it yet and you're doing it for the first time, it'll ask you to customize, it'll take you through steps. And what it's customizing is what you're seeing. Like I use news, I use headlines as mine, and I do different, you can choose colors. It will take you through the whole process. And you'll be asked to do all that, which I did for this person. So I set theirs up for them. So in this upper left-hand corner up here, you see a thing, and it's hard to see here, it's hard to see on this slide, but it looks like a little waffle. They're little squares, they're 9 little squares. You click on that, and once you click on that, you'll see the apps come up, okay? So all of this little menu right here will pop up when you click on the waffle. What's that? Oh,
Thank you.
you can kind of see the waffle now. It's right up here. Are you? It's up in the upper left, right here. They're little, it's three rows, 3 lines of 3 little squares. And that's called a little, that's referred to as the waffle. You click on that and then this little menu come up, that will come up. Once you click on all apps, so there, you'll see the words there, it said all apps, click on that, and then on the left is what you will see, and here's Skyward, right here. See Skyward? So you click on that, and then it takes you to this page. I blocked out this person's name, hopefully in all the correct spots. So, this is the screen that once you click on Skyward, this is what you see.
Can you zoom that?
No.
Come on up. The water's fine over here.
This is my first time I've done PowerPoint, so I will work on that. So I'm learning. So now we're going to review how to find years and steps that you have with the district in Skyward. And in the upper left corner here, you see employee information. See, there's the word home and then employee information. Right here. You click on that. Once you click on employee information, you see these options come up. Okay? Under employee information in this box, there's personal information. All right? Click on that and that's what you see. Well, click on personal information and then you're going to have all these options appear on the left-hand side. And you see lane and step. So under personal information, you see lane and step. If you click on that, then this appears. And here you can see what the district has down as your years of service.
Can I just say, don't stress about writing all this down. If you want us to email this to you so that you can look at it yourself.
Yes.
Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll email it out to you.
Yep.
I know it's a lot of steps. Another thing I can't stress enough is just going on and doing it. Just going on and doing it. I know it's nerve-wracking, but you can, if you are just in there messing around with it, that's how you're going to learn.
Can you mess it up?
Anything you break, Jackie can fix.
You cannot change your pay.
You can't. So there's another option here that says time off status down here. You see that? On the left-hand side, if you look down, it says time off status. So the next example is if you click on that. So once you click on time off status, you see this screen on the left. This is the allotment is for the current year, which runs July 1st through June 30th. That's what how our year runs. So in our example here, this driver was allocated 3 personal days for the current school year. And if you click on sick days, you would see the same thing. I didn't do a slide for that. So yeah, I'm just gonna scroll through this quickly. So you would do the same thing for sick days. So the next page is a timesheet. Oh, I'm gonna show you how to print a timesheet. So if you go to the top, you see where it says true time. And there's a timesheet history. Let's see, true time on the top screen, you'll see the option of my timesheet history. The drop-down menu is not shown here. Okay, so if you were to click on true time, and then you would see the option of my timesheet history. So you would click on that, and then you would see this screen here on the left. Okay? Up in the upper right corner, you see view timesheet. Over here, view timesheet. So you highlight the week you want here, click on that, then click on view timesheet. And this type of timesheet is what you would see. This highlights your whole week. This is telling you exactly what happened for the whole week for this person. When they clocked in and out, what pay code they got, the amount of time. Also, for those of you who do sped routes, who are under an hour, under the sped pay code, here you would view your automatic guaranteed minutes that bump you up to that full hour. So this timesheet, I sort of just reviewed what is on it here. The top portion are the hours and pay codes that you worked. The center portion is the detail for each day. And the bottom lists all adjustments made to your times and who made the adjustments. So in this example, the original time was 6:36 to 1:23 under the bus pay code. This was adjusted from 6:36 to 8:30 for the bus pay code for that particular day. The dates listed as well. On the second line of this adjustment, you'll see 8:30 to 1:23 had the field trip instructional pay code. So I made these adjustments because the driver was clocked in for field trip under route pay. I corrected the pay code and the times to reflect the correct times and codes. You all are always able to see corrections and adjustments and who made them. So if you ever have a question of why something was done, you'll see it here. And if you still have a question, then always, always, always email, call, stop in. Yep.
So you talked about a sped route, if it's under an hour, it bumps it up. What about if you do a field trip that is less than 2 hours, does that automatically bump it to?
I manually have to do that.
Okay.
So that's a very good example of make sure that's been done. Because obviously, when you're talking anything that's done manually, there are times where there's mistakes. So you do need, that's a great example of check that and make sure it was done. Yep, I have to adjust all of those up to 2 hours. And then any AM, PM, those don't automatically get adjusted either. The only thing that is automatically adjusted is the sped pay code. And always stop by between routes, so after AMs, before PMs, or email questions. And thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, everybody, we got 2 GCNs left to do, and then you guys will be all set for those.
Used to prevent a potentially dangerous situation. Have you ever been concerned about a student's behavior? This tutorial will provide you with verbal de-escalation tactics that are non-physical skills used to prevent a potentially dangerous situation from escalating into a physical confrontation or injury. Strategies used to prevent a potentially dangerous situation from escalating. Strategies to de-escalate a threatening situation. And strategies that can be used during the confrontation to ensure your safety and others. What is verbal de-escalation? Verbal de-escalation is what we use during a situation in an attempt to prevent a conflict with another person. There are some verbal de-escalation tactics. Some tactics are simply listening, empathizing with the other person, refocusing the other person on something positive, giving helpful choices, distracting the other person, motivating the other person, especially useful to students, and setting limits. There are some key behaviors needed to de-escalate a situation effectively. In order to verbally de-escalate another person, you must open as many clear lines of communication as possible. Both you and the other person must listen to each other and have no barriers. Barriers to communication are the things that keep the meaning of what is being said from being heard. Some examples of behaviors to avoid are arguing, minimizing, threatening, criticizing, or engaging in power struggles. To ensure that the process moves forward, you will need to employ positive de-escalation practices. Use positive and helpful statements such as, "I want to help you. Please tell me more so I better understand how to help you. Let's call Mr. Smith. I know he would be able to help with this. Ms. Jones handles this for our district. Let's ask her what she thinks about this situation. She's always willing to help." Put yourself on his or her side of finding a solution to the problem. Verbal de-escalation requires participants to be empathetic listeners. First, you should attend to the speaker. This means that you give the person your physical and mental attention. Second, follow the speaker. Make sure that you are engaged in eye contact. Use unintrusive gestures, such as asking questions, nodding your head, or saying, "Okay." After the person has finished speaking, you should provide time to reflect. Reflection strategies include paraphrasing what the person has shared and allows you to demonstrate empathy. When people are angry, they sometimes do not listen to the words that are being said. Often, they do see and react to what you are saying with your body language. You must always be careful with the message you are sending. Remember, 80 to 90% of our communication is nonverbal. It is very important to be able to identify exactly what we are communicating to others non-verbally. It is also important that we recognize and understand the nonverbal cues from another person who has the potential of escalating. One of the main areas that people focus on is your face, especially the eyes. You may recall the saying, "The eyes are the window to the soul." Although it may be challenging, you should develop strategies to control what your eyes may be saying. For example, when one eyebrow is raised, this may reflect sternness. Eyes open wide may indicate surprise. A hard stare may be perceived as a threatening gesture, and closing the eyes longer than normal may indicate, "I'm not listening," or "change your message." This may be a warning that you are unintentionally escalating the situation. When engaging in de-escalation, be mindful of personal space. Invasion or encroachment of personal space tends to heighten or escalate anxiety. Note, personal space is usually 1.5 to 3 feet, far enough away so you cannot be hit or kicked. Do not touch a hostile person. They might interpret that as an aggressive action. Keep your hands visible at all times. You do not want the other person to misinterpret your physical actions. These strategies will help keep you safe as well. While de-escalating another person, you want to be in a non-threatening, non-challenging, and self-protecting position. Slightly more than a leg's length away, on an angle, and off to the side of the other person. Stay far enough away that the other person cannot hit, kick, or grab you. Challenging postures that tend to threaten another person and escalate any situation include face-to-face, nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe, eyeball-to-eyeball, touching, or finger pointing. Like the eyes, the use of your voice can influence the de-escalation process. You will need to use strategies to manage your voice in the areas of tone, volume, the rate of speech, and inflection. A lowered voice level may set a tone of anger, which could create fear or challenges. A raised voice may set a tone of anticipation or uncertainty, which may promote excitement or disruption. Speak in a smooth, slow, controlled voice. When engaging the use of verbal de-escalation, avoid becoming emotionally involved. Control your emotions at all times. Avoid engaging in power struggles, and avoid becoming rigid in your process. Avoid aggressive tones and language, including body language, and do not attempt to intimidate a hostile person. During the use of verbal de-escalation, remember to remain calm. Listen, really listen. Avoid overreaction. Validate what the person is saying. I understand why you might be upset. This does not indicate that you agree with them. Send an onlooker for help. Watch for nonverbal clues or threats. Bring in another trained person to assist whenever possible. There is less chance of aggressive behavior if 2 people are talking to 1 person. The information in this tutorial provided you with strategies needed to prevent a potentially dangerous situation from escalating, de-escalating a threatening situation, and strategies to use during a confrontation to ensure your personal safety and others. The rapid technological developments of the last 2 decades have left the average person relying more and more on the internet and mobile devices to manage finances, conduct business, and socialize. The convenience of accessing online stores, banking, and friends from anywhere at any time can be very attractive to both consumers and businesses. However, with every added convenience comes higher risk and severity of potential compromise. The malicious actions of criminals and cybercriminals are impossible to prevent in all cases, but there are steps which can reduce the risk of and exposure to these threats. This tutorial will cover the objectives shown on screen: password security, email security and vulnerabilities, mobile device security, prevention strategies and habits. Think of a password as a digital key. We use them every day to gain access to various accounts online. Most people understand that they should be kept private, yet easy to remember, but not too simple that someone else could guess. The next several slides will discuss some best practices for password protection. Possibly the biggest and most obvious mistake is choosing a password that is too simple. In 1995, the most common password was password. While that may seem like a long time ago, when security was less of a concern, as of 2014, it was still one of the most common passwords, second only to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Choosing a less obvious short password may seem more secure, but the capability of computer processing has become so great that a password of any combination less than 8 characters can be guessed by a home computer in less than 1 hour. In today's terms, the level of password complexity is known as its strength. Many sites will even provide a gauge to indicate the strength of your selected password. Security experts suggest, at minimum, passwords of more than 8 characters with mixed case, upper and lower, alpha and numeric, with special characters such as the @ sign, if allowed. Common practices include hashing, wherein certain characters are replaced with others, such as an S substituted with the $sign. This is a good idea, as special characters are often required when creating passwords. Another idea is to use a memorable phrase to create a seemingly random password. For example, I, 2005, IL, @ 28 ampersand capital M, could be created from, in 2005, I lived at 28th and Main. Even with a strong password, if you are using the same password for all of your online accounts, you have essentially created a skeleton key, one key that opens all doors. It is important that you create unique passwords for each online account. While this can be difficult to manage, it is important to limit a single password's power over your entire online presence. It is also recommended that you update your passwords every 3 to 6 months, in the case that a security breach has occurred and your password has been compromised. If you are concerned about forgetting your various passwords, there are online products which offer a way to manage your passwords and even generate them for you. Some websites allow for a 2-factor login process where a password is followed by an additional form of validation, such as a phone SMS text verification, before access is granted. These are a great addition to security and are becoming increasingly common for credit card companies and email providers. In short, if a 2-factor login is available, use it. It is important to control what information is accessible to the public. A common strategy to compromise an account is to abuse the password retrieval function of a website, which normally includes answering a series of questions about personal details. It may not be obvious, but a social media account may leave enough hints for a persistent criminal to exploit your accounts in this way. Personal information such as birth dates, anniversaries, and addresses, if left public, can be used to retrieve and even change your password of an online account. Many of us rely on email every day, and although newer and more immediate forms of communication are available, there are over 2.5 billion email users worldwide. Within the past decade, thousands of individuals and system networks experienced some level of email-based attack, which can compromise the security of personal and/or confidential information. While not all cases could have been prevented in the ways detailed in this tutorial, it's important to know that certain habits can significantly limit the likelihood of falling victim to malicious email. The tools utilized by cyber criminals become more complex every day, but knowing the common methods they use can help us build cautionary habits to spot these digital traps. The following slide will contain details about these methods and may use the following terms defined below. Malware, a file or program which, once initialized, opened on a computer, runs any number of malicious commands that can activate anything from minor annoyances like ad pop-ups to a fully compromised computer, a virus. Spoof, a hoax, or in this case, the act of appearing as something safe but is in fact harmful or misleading. Email header, the information contained in an email that includes details of the sender, recipient, and other data pertaining to the email transmission. Email phishing is the act of sending email disguised as something legitimate but contains a malware attachment or phony links that lead to a spoofed website in an attempt to gather data or download malware. A common example may be an email that appears to be from FedEx with an attachment named tracking invoice that is actually a malicious file. Spear phishing takes this concept a step further by using personal, business, or otherwise specific details to further trick the recipient. This may include a malicious email that appears to be from someone you know with details specific to your relationship. An example may be an email that appears to be from your IT department asking you to view a document or install a program. Phone phishing, voice phishing, or phishing is a similar practice where a criminal attempts to deceive an individual into providing confidential or private information, or to even wire funds over the phone. Some attempts go so far as to spoof the caller ID to further increase the credibility of the call. Like spoofing the caller ID, it is possible to modify some email header information to mask the actual sender's name and email address. Cyber criminals may attempt to appear as a trusted or familiar sender, since the attachments, images, and/or links are far more likely to be opened or accessed. The email header may contain the name or similar email address as a coworker, friend, or family member, but upon further review, you may see that something is slightly off or suspicious. A website link contains two parts: the text shown on screen and the URL or address that the link will access. For example, you may see a link that says mysite.com/login, or a link that says login, but both actually take you to mysite.com/login. However, a link can be spoofed, and that same mysite.com/login link may instead take you to a completely different website, or even worse, a site that looks like mysite.com/login, but is actually a malicious spoof of the site meant to trick you into giving confidential details. A good habit is to check the actual URL of a link by placing your cursor over the link without clicking, or on most mobile devices, press and hold the link, which will display the URL. Some cyber criminals will create pages to appear as a banking or credit card website in the hopes of gathering secure information you may enter. When visiting a secure website, you should see HTTPS in your browser's address bar. The HTTPS indicates that information sent and received is encrypted. If the HTTPS is not present, do not provide sensitive or account information such as social security numbers and passwords. Another safeguard certain websites use is an image identification. When the account is first created, an image is selected and, if the wrong image is seen in later login attempts, the user should know that the login is not secure. It is important to keep your guard up. You can't be expected to analyze every detail of every email, phone call, and website, but there are some simple ways to protect yourself. The next slide will review these. Here are some tips to protect yourself. If you weren't expecting contact from an individual or a company, ask questions or request some verification. If you aren't 100% certain, do not provide any personal or sensitive information. Keep private personal details private. They may be used to convince you that an email or call is legitimate. Be skeptical of email attachments you did not request, in particular, files ending with ZIP. Double check the email address and name of senders if anything in an email seems suspicious. Check the URLs of any links sent to you, as mentioned in previous slides. Also, be suspicious if you see a flash drive, USB storage device lying around. It may contain malware that can activate once it is plugged into a device. This is known as baiting. Some information is particularly valuable to criminals. Not only social security numbers, but also medical records and student records. Because of the sensitive nature of this data, many laws have been passed which dictate the manner in which these records are to be stored and transferred, both physically and digitally. HIPAA stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. The Act specifies procedures and level of security which apply to the protection of sensitive information, and in particular, medical records. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. FERPA protects the privacy of students' personally identifiable information. If you have questions about how HIPAA and or FERPA may apply to you, contact your Human Resources Department, school office, or other authority on the matter. GCN also provides tutorials on both subjects that may be available to you. According to the Pew Research Center, in 2015, 64% of American adults had smartphones. As we become more reliant on mobile devices, the amount of valuable information available or accessible from them increases dramatically. Because of the mobile nature of these devices, and while they may seem different from a personal computer, even more caution and security measures should be applied. A phone or tablet can be physically misplaced or stolen quite easily. Once the device is no longer under your control, any accessible information is under risk. To protect yourself, be sure to enable any screen lock password or fingerprint access. Some devices can even be remotely reset to remove personal data. You can take additional steps by changing passwords or access settings for important services, such as email accounts, credit card, and banking websites. In addition, apps or mobile applications can be loaded with malware just like an email attachment. Only install apps from trusted sources and restrict the access apps have to your device when possible. Do not trust public Wi-Fi implicitly. While traveling or working from coffee shops, don't expect the same level of security as a private home or business. Do not access confidential information, with particular consideration of sensitive HIPAA or FERPA-related data. When accessing any account using a public device or computer, be sure to log out and close the browser before leaving. Computers and mobile devices are not wholly susceptible to all forms of attack, and there are ways to further protect them from harm. Installing an antivirus or anti-malware security program is essential. Often the same security available for a computer is also available for mobile devices. Most likely your business or school network will have certain safeguards installed to protect the network and your data. However, new forms of malicious attacks are developed every day, and no single security program can stop them all. To better the odds of preventing an attack, follow the recommendations outlined in the previous slides and on your own personal devices. Install a trusted antivirus or anti-malware program and ensure that your license, if required, doesn't expire. This will keep the program up to date on any newly discovered threats. Enable auto updates or regularly check for updates to install on the following: operating systems such as Windows, Android, and iOS, internet browsers and plugins such as Safari or Internet Explorer, mobile apps or desktop software such as Adobe Reader or Facebook. Ransomware is a type of malware which alters your system files, making them inaccessible until the demands of a ransom are met, typically funds paid in the form of Bitcoin. In addition to the methods of avoiding other malware, the best proactive action for a potential ransomware attack is to continually back up your important files to a separate storage device or utilize a cloud storage account. If you believe your system has been infected by ransomware or any malware, disconnect the device from the network immediately and seek technical support. Schools and healthcare providers are particularly high targets of ransomware, as they are large networks that contain sensitive personal information. When connected to a workplace or a school Wi-Fi network, do not assume that your activity is private, and follow all rules and guidelines imposed by the network administrators at all times. Permission from network administrators may be required before attempting any or all of the following: installing or downloading software, including plugins or mobile apps, connecting personal devices to the network, modifying network accounts or changing security settings. Contact your IT department if available for guidance if you have any questions or concerns. The results of stolen information or a security breach can include loss of time and money, destruction or damage to schools and businesses, or otherwise malicious use of sensitive information about yourself and others. It can even lead to state or federal investigations and possible charges. As we grow more reliant on internet connections, online applications, and mobile devices, it's increasingly important to know how to protect information from getting into the wrong hands. By forming basic habits, watching for suspicious activity, following network guidelines, and asking questions, you can help to reduce the risks of the digital age.
All right, question one. It's a good idea to use the same password for every online login you have because it can be easily remembered. True or false?
False.
A password is strong if it's a single word like walrus that you think no one would guess. True or false? If you receive an email attachment that you are not expecting, you should A, open it to see what it is, B, delete it immediately, or C, be suspicious of the file and follow up with the sender before opening the file. If you don't let others use your phone, you don't need to keep the screen locked or password protected. True or false? All right, you guys are done with GCNs. Now, before you guys run off, because I know everybody's dying to get out of here. Just have a quick slideshow on driver safety and defensive driving. More than 35,000 people die in crashes every year on U.S. roads, and that comes to about 96 deaths every day, or 4 deaths every hour. Many of those deaths are the result of incidents that take place during the workday or during commute to and from work, and more than 90% of crashes are a result of driver error and are therefore preventable. Employers absorb the brunt of the costs for injuries that occur both on and off the job through items such as lost workdays, insurance premiums. Now, a lot of this is based towards the supervisor side of this, but we're going through it because these are things that you guys that we're not necessarily worried about, such as on here they've got using a GPS or turning off your smartphones or other devices, which we still want you guys to turn off, but these are things you gotta be aware that other people on the road are probably texting and driving. As much as we would like to say they're not, we can't guarantee that. Thousands die every year in incidents involving smartphones or distractions from dashboard information systems. Again, many drivers continue to use phones even when they are aware of the crash risk associated with the distraction. So you guys need to assume that somebody, whoever's turning in front of you, is very likely on their cell phone or some kind of other device. Safe driving requires comprehension, concentration, coordination, and quick reflexes. And again, you guys are subject to random drinking or alcohol and drug testing, but that doesn't mean the other people on the road aren't abiding by that same thing. Statistic done in Virginia, there were 8% of all drivers openly admitted that they drink and drive. That is not including the people that are doing it and not openly admitting to it. Now that may not seem like a lot, only 8%, but when you think of that as a state as a whole, and they have well over 1 million people in that state, that's a lot of people drinking and driving. The biggest one you gotta watch out for is aggressive driving or road rage. We all know nobody likes to be stuck behind a school bus. They will do whatever they can to get in front of you. But we have to look ahead for that and expect that they're probably going to try and pull out in front of you. If you see a car waiting to make that right-hand turn and you're pulling up that direction, I would assume that they're probably gonna cut you off because they don't wanna be sitting behind you going down the road. Drowsy driving, especially with these late night Camp Timberley ones. The CDC reports that more than 1/3 of US adults sleep less than 7 hours a day. Obviously, drowsy driving occurs when people take the wheel despite feeling sleepy or fatigued. And more than 5,000 people died in drowsy driving related crashes in 2015. Make sure you guys are all aware of the equipment that is on your vehicles. A lot of, now, not that we have them yet, but a lot of the new school buses are coming with automatic braking systems, so that if something pulls out in front of you, it slows the bus down. So just be aware that those things are coming. If tired, what they have on here doesn't really apply to what you guys can do. Do not pull over and take a 20-minute nap because you're tired. Make sure if you have a late night or an early morning trip that you guys are well rested ahead of time. You guys are gonna have a busload of kids. You can't be, it's not like you're taking your own personal trip. You can't take a 20-minute nap and pull over. If you're that tired, it's not safe for you to just go grab a coffee or an energy drink and just slug that down real quick and then keep driving.
Can't do the Chevy Chase vacation?
We would prefer you don't.
But not mandatory.
All right. Seatbelts. Everybody's got their seatbelts and everybody should be wearing them. But more than half of teens and adults who die in crashes are reported as not wearing their seatbelts. Everybody, if you're driving a new car, you know that your car beeps at you constantly when you do not wear a seatbelt. Yet, clearly, more than half of everybody who dies in an accident ignores that beeping. This one doesn't really apply to you, but the average cost of an accident is about $16,000. And more driver safety resources, you can go to nsc.org/members, and they have more materials there. Same for more resources on drowsy driving. Any questions?
Are we done?
Mary, you got anything else for them?
I don't think so.
No? Then you guys are free to go. Yes. That's the one.
Just stop. Hit that waffle.
Okay, thanks.